Hello and welcome. You're watching Addis Media Network, and this is our weekly review, reviewing the issues we have at hand. And I am the host and producer, Brahana Addis. With me is Asras Addisu, and really very warm welcome.
Thank you so much for having me once again.
Nice.
I'm very much delighted to be with you here.
I appreciate it. Before this week, of course, there were many issues, and this week we had different issues at hand. And as we always do, we review the most important issues. While it doesn't mean that we're forgetting the other issues, but we have to pick because of the time we have. And there are some issues we chose to discuss in our weekly review. What are the issues we have at hand?
Great. Yeah. As usual, you know, we just give emphasis to the bilateral ties that Ethiopia in general holds with neighboring countries and countries across the planet. When it comes to the bilateral ties of Ethiopia, we can mention about the outgoing German ambassador, the African Development Bank's, you know, interaction with the Ethiopian government in the field of cooperation in various sectors, and the appointment of Ethiopian Airlines and the guests of Addis who were participating in the so-called our United Nations Food Systems Summit Plus for Stocktake. And of course, we will touch the discovery of a new species which is of revolutionary in the field of human study, ancestral study. And the other point may be the reform in the energy sector of Ethiopia. And hopefully we will touch on other points if time is not a limit.
Well, we'll see if time is going to be on our side. And these issues are, okay, well, we can start from the bilateral ties Ethiopia has with other countries as well. One of the issues we can mention right here is the Ethiopia and German relations, and the outgoing German ambassador to Ethiopia appreciated Ethiopia's overall activities, especially with the economic reforms and the brave, courageous, and highly encouraging step towards the nation's development. And the outgoing German ambassador to Ethiopia agents have filled, of course, appreciated Ethiopia's ongoing homegrown economic reforms. And you remember that President Taye Atske-Selassie recently paid farewell to the ambassador and expressing that he was really happy, and that's why he said thank you for all the job you have done, and especially for the efforts he exerted in deepening the bilateral ties between the two countries, Ethiopia and Germany.
Yeah, Germany is one of the countries that have had a long-standing relation with Ethiopia. And even if you trace the geolocation of, you know, the German embassy is a little bit, you know, close to the Menelik Second Hospital, which is on the other side of River Kabana. And it was, I think, Menelik II, Emperor Menelik II, who just allotted that place, that specific place, to be the embassy of Germany. So, you know, starting from then till today, Germany has had, you know, laid a strong foundation of diplomatic relations with Ethiopia that really touched too many corners, like, you know, education, you know, science, and other areas like medicine and agriculture and other areas as well. You know, too many students have had chances, opportunities to go to Germany and attend their scholarships there. So having said so, you know, the former, we can say the former, I think, ambassador of Germany to Ethiopia, Jens Hanfeld, has had, you know, his tenure in Ethiopia, and he appreciated, you know, the far-reaching homegrown economic reform of Ethiopia during his final talks and discussions with, of course, President of the Republic of Ethiopia, Taye Atske-Selassie. So, as you said, the president bid farewell to him and appreciated his tenure in Ethiopia, which has brought the two countries closer.
That's really right. And while talking about the ambassador, the outgoing ambassador, and this is a very right time to just check what the ambassador had to say. And we'll be back.
You have indeed highlighted the bilateral relationship between Germany and Ethiopia, and this is a very special year as we are celebrating 120 years of diplomatic relations between our two countries. Germany has always considered itself to be a very good friend of Ethiopia, and I think we have had bilateral relations which reflect this in many ways. I myself have had the privilege of being ambassador to Ethiopia and also the permanent representative to the African Union for a little over 10 months. And this, in a sense, coincided with my arrival in country, or about shortly after, frankly speaking. I think the economic reforms, the homegrown economic reform too, which is currently still being implemented in Ethiopia, is a very brave, courageous, and encouraging development. This is something which we strongly support, not only through our membership in the international financial institutions like the IMF and the World Bank, but also in a bilateral sense. As you will also know, Ethiopia is the biggest development partner of Germany the world over, and I think this is a highlight of the fact that we are engaged in helping Ethiopia develop towards a future which will serve all of its people in a peaceful and prosperous manner.
Dear viewers, you're watching AMN, and this is our weekly review, reviewing the issues we have at hand. And the next issue, of course, will take us to Ethiopia's cooperation with other countries, including institutions as well. And then the African Development Bank, of course, expressed its readiness to work with Ethiopia. And over the week, Asrat, the AfDB, the African Development Bank, has, of course, agreed with other things. We'll come to that next issue. But the point we're trying to make here especially is the African Development Bank especially is appreciating and implementing, of course, ongoing model economic reforms and commending Ethiopia for using the required statistical systems to apply reforms as well, especially the policies reform.
Yeah, you're right. So African Development Bank, being a continental institution, is working with the governments in Africa, and you know it has relations with banks somewhere else, like in Europe, and international banks like the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. Yet its main focus is just, enhancing and, encouraging the development, initiatives and endeavors of, African countries. So in this regard, African Development Bank has been there just to embolden the statistics issue of Ethiopia, particularly the agricultural statistics, I think. So the chief statistician of the African Development Bank has appreciated, the ongoing development of the economic reforms, and as you said, the chief statistician has commended Ethiopia for using statistical systems to apply to the reform policies. And he said Ethiopia, compared to the other African countries, is leading in terms of development. These days, not only him, many other, senior officials from international organizations, continental organizations coming to Ethiopia and paying a visit to some important institutions and, endeavors taking place in Ethiopia. They appreciate whatever going inside Ethiopia because of the extent, the degree that Ethiopia is taking it seriously. The seriousness of development in Ethiopia is so intense, and nobody can deny that. So that is what this chief statistician did, and he even reminded that the bank has been providing capacity to the member states in the field of statistics because there's a chief statistician, and he mentioned that particularly when it comes to Ethiopia, the bank is already there to support.
Nice. So it's really wonderful, Asrat, to hear from the African Development Bank, especially saying that Ethiopia is really leading the development, and this will be a wonderful time to just take a view of his say, and we'll be back watching it.
Ethiopia is leading comparative to other African countries in terms of development. So those reforms will also emulate for sure other African countries. So the African development stands ready to support Ethiopia. The reforms are very important, and whatever the policies are, they are always new and latest development, new challenges. So the reforms are there to ensure that those policies are aligned with those new challenges and the latest developments. Comparing Ethiopia to other countries has one of the strongest, agricultural statistical system. And this is mainly explained by the strong commitment of the government. The government has been supporting using its own resources regularly to run all these statistical operations. And that explains why Ethiopia has the strong capacity. And the capacity is on different angles. First, the institutional framework. It's very strong. The institutional framework, including working together with other line ministries and having strategic ways to organize how the work is done, and also to mobilize resources for that.
Asad, we're back, and the next thing, of course, will take us related to African Development Bank and Ethiopian Airlines, the greatest, the pride of Africa, of course, is working to expand mostly the airports here. And having the Ethiopian flag, the green, yellow, and red, is widely and mostly seen clearly in the skies, not only Ethiopia, all over the world. And one of the great achievements that we can see over years will be building and constructing Africa's largest airport. Yeah. And that is going to be, of course, witnessed by many in coming years. And the Ethiopian Airlines Group officially, of course, appointed the African Development Bank as mandated lead arranger for mobilizing and billions in debt, of course, financing for the construction of this airport.
Yeah, as you said.
And the number itself, by the way, is a big number, $8 billion.
$8 billion, which is an amazing number when it comes to the global currency, the dollar. So $8 billion is a huge amount of money that the airlines has been trusted to pay it back. And the country is also trustworthy of getting that amount of money from the Continental Bank. So the Ethiopian Airlines, as you said, is the flag carrier of the nation, and it flies across the continents, across the oceans. It's not limited to Africa, it's not limited to the Middle East, but Asia, but it flies all over the continents, all over the planet. And wherever you go, you see, so these days people look at, this footage in the social media that whenever they are taking this Ethiopian Airlines from the Manchester city or some other cities from inside the United States of America or somewhere else, even in Latin America. So, you said that Ethiopian Airlines is pride of Africa, not only Ethiopia, and is maintaining its spirit of being pride to the continent by, proposing to construct the biggest airport in Africa, which is going to be Bishoftu International Airport, and that amount of money is going to be, released by the African Development Bank. To support the 10 billion proposed needed money for the construction of the Bishoftu International Airport for the Ethiopian Airlines.
This national flagship project aligns with and supports our ongoing comprehensive macroeconomic reform agenda. Specifically, the airport will play a pivotal role in supporting the private sector, attracting foreign direct investment, improving Ethiopia's logistic capacity, enhancing cargo capacity for trade and export, and facilitating tourism. With the Bishoftu Airport project, we are laying the groundwork for a brighter and a more connected future for our continent.
This particular project will cost $10 billion US. And I want to say that the African Development Bank, we are actually very delighted to have been selected as the mandated lead arranger, the global coordinator and book runner to mobilize $8 billion of debt financing for the construction of this airport, including $500 million also of debt from the African Development Bank. And so we will be there, and we will be there to support Ethiopia to achieve this dream.
ET has become African pride from time to time with a safety, customer-focused, and profitability. The Abu Sera Mega Airport project is a forward-looking initiative designed to enhance connectivity, building capacity, and shape a modern aviation landscape for generations ahead. I will therefore like to sincerely thank the leadership of the African Development Bank and all those who played a role in making this strategic partnership a reality.
We are going to create a Addis Ababa region airport system, which consists of the new to be built airport, Bishoftu International Airport and Addis Ababa Bole International Airport, so that we create a strategic hub that connects the African continent with the rest of the world.
Dear viewers, you're watching AMN, and this is our weekly review, and so far we've been discussing, of course, different issues, and the next issue will take us to what Ethiopia has been famous, especially over the weeks, and that's going to be the Green Legacy Initiative. And many, of course, have been appreciating the Green Legacy Initiative and record-breaking planting time as well. And one of the institutions, of course, appreciating the Green Legacy Initiative is the AU Staff Association members. And they comment that the Ethiopian Green Legacy Initiative, which of course we know as the flagship project of the country, as a very crucial move to tackle climate change. Yeah. And they already stated that Ethiopian Green Legacy is exemplary even for other countries.
You're right.
Yeah.
As we all know, Ethiopia has, intended to plant about 7.5 billion seedlings this Ethiopian winter season,
right,
which actually the Europeans rather call the summer season.
Yeah.
So we call it the winter season, and we are just taking it. I think most of the plan might have been concluded or might have been, accomplished, hopefully, because everybody, starting as we saw, starting from the kids, from the preschool children, to all people of all ages, have been participating in the campaign of greening Ethiopia, greening Africa, and greening the planet. And whenever Ethiopia greens its own country, the country, that positive outcome is reverberated across the planet, across the continent.
Right.
So, Ethiopia's efforts has been not only appreciated by the African Union staff members and the association and the other individuals, as I said earlier, other individuals who pay visits to Ethiopia and who are already in Ethiopia, being communities of foreign countries, and the chiefs, senior officials of international organizations have been, appreciating this motive. The motive is, of course, related to the survival of human being. And, any effort related to the climate change, is something that supports the survival of human beings.
Sure.
Us.
Yeah. As you already said it, of course, it was appreciated by many individuals, experts, and international organizations as well, heads of states, and crucial move, of course, to tackle climate change. And this will be the right time to check what they have to say. And this is their say.
We are planning for our future, we are planning for the country, we are planning for our continent. And we appreciate Ethiopia in leading that. So it could be also a good example for neighboring country like South Sudan to learn from this example. And it also helps in fighting deforestation and also in having clean, green air, that also ensure the sense of happiness in human being. So we thank Government of Ethiopia for providing us the opportunity.
I really wish that my country, as well as other African nations, can take up this initiative of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and also implement it in their countries, because all of our countries are facing climate change consequences. There's droughts, there's floods, and all of this is because of climate change. So if we do this and plant trees, we can really mitigate the risks that come with climate change.
I believe that by planting trees, somehow we are playing a regulatory role to bring back the natural to its right order. If you look around in Addis Ababa, it's very green, it's clean, and it is inspiring. As I told you, it creates regulatory conditions for the forecast. The rain would sustain, the agriculture would develop, and then even the well-being and the breathing of the people would improve. So this is a very laudable and noble initiative.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching AMN, and this is Weekly Review, reviewing the issues we have at hand, of course. And the next issue will take us to participants, and participants have been appreciating mostly the corridor development and the development generally in Ethiopia, and specifically in Addis Ababa. And the metropolitans especially impressed, they're really impressed with what's going on and all over the country, specifically the capital of Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, and especially the guests from the UN's Food Summit who got the opportunity to visit the country and the places in, of course, in nearby urban centers as well, appreciate the transformation features of the city, which they believe was really astonishing. Others have been expressing how astonished they were, how really wowing it was, and how this could be even exemplary by different people. And this participants, actually, they came for the Food Summit, and they had the chance to visit the city, and that's what they said. This is really wowing. And you can see of course, AMN working for different parts, even interviewing the guests we have at hand. And AMN had a chance to exclusively interview the participants of the Food Summit, and you were one of the people who, of course, interviewed some of the guests, because others have been interviewing as well. And as you remember, they said that they had their own expectations, but when they come to Addis and see what's been said and what's already on the ground are totally different things. And this is quite amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what happened was, some of the things amaze me. Me personally, being moved by, whatever they said so far. Coming for the United Nations Food Systems Summit plus for stocktake here in Africa, here in Ethiopia. Mind you, Ethiopia has become the first ever country to host the United Nations Food Systems in Africa. Ethiopia has been, one of the countries to be the first country. In many aspects, Ethiopia has been recorded as the first country to do this, the first country to do that. So luckily, Ethiopia has become the first country ever, to host this United Nations Food Systems Summit plus for stocktake. And its predecessor, the other summit, was convened, I think, in Rome, Italy, 4 years ago in 2021. And the guests in Action Day 1 were, invited to pay visits to some of the integrated development projects inside Addis Ababa, in the suburbs of Addis Ababa, and to some even distant places like Adama. They paid visits to, this Melkasa Agricultural Institute as well. And as you mentioned, I was one of Addis Media Network's professionals, journalists actually, to talk to the guests, and I managed to talk to about 15 of them, and nearly, I can say, all of them appreciated, the standard of being metropolis of Addis Ababa. Addis Ababa is a metropolitan, a highly modernized urban center as to what they witnessed. Some of them came here for the first time, and the expectations they have had earlier, I mean before their arrival, and the reality they witnessed after arriving here in Addis have been very different. And they were astonished even to see the situation of Bole Airport and moving from Bole to some other areas like the hotels, the roads, the roadsides, the greenery aspect of the city, and other modernization. The city is becoming a smart city. That technological aspect also astonished them, moved them. Some professors, scientists, agricultural scientists, and others as well, and all of them told me and my colleagues that they are moved by the exact nature of the metropolitan feature of the city of Addis Ababa, which has turned the city to be a modern capital of Africa.
So finally, we can say that Addis Ababa is, of course, becoming the epicenter of diplomatic center, of course, and of course, hub of conference and summits. And talking about that as well will directly lead them to their say.
I think it's a beautiful city. It's a kind of experience that can we, for example, in Mozambique, we can learn from Ethiopia, from Addis Ababa, from this capital. I am living in Mozambique capital, Maputo. So I think that it's a kind of example of a beautiful city, a developed city, and some things we can implement in our country and other African countries. So I think that's a great space to live.
A city that is transforming very fast. I see a lot of buildings being built and a lot of transformation. So yeah, I'm eager to learn more about what is going on here. Actually, I have planned to take 1 day off to visit Addis Ababa at the end of my stay here and visit, I think, the market. I've heard it's the biggest market in Africa. And the Mercato, I'd like to learn about the history of Ethiopia, which seems so rich at the National Museum. And I love to connect with some religious and spiritual places.
Actually, I was very surprised how modern and advanced the Addis Ababa looks. Very different from Mozambique, where I came from. It's also a modern city, but not as advanced and metropolitan as Addis Ababa. So it's a great capital. We were not expecting this. And we also had the opportunity to visit the city of Adama. So we were very well received by the community there. We visit production sites. We went to visit production for dairy and poultry. And we are impressed with the quality of service and production and the community involved in that production. So we are taking those learnings back to Mozambique for sure.
Dear viewers, you're watching Addis Media Network and Weekly Review, and Ethiopia has been known, of course, with different things. We originating coffee, and we had, of course, Afar as well, and that is Lucy and Salam. And there's a new thing over the week, and this is quite a surprise, to be honest, as well. And scientists working in Ethiopia's Afar region announced that discovery of a very new species is, of course, Australopithecus, and the oldest specimen of the genus Homo, and the finding that could, of course, reshape the understanding we had with human evolution, because people formerly used to say that human beings, originate from apes and other animals as well. And this say that no, actually we didn't come from those things. And we will see with the findings, because this is a very new finding, even it doesn't have a name yet. So we'll find out the name mostly in the weeks to come. And the lead, of course, the Lady Guraru Research Project, the collaboration between Arizona State University and Ethiopian Heritage and Authority, of course, since 2002, has made repeated expeditions to the Afar region. And they have been producing, of course, serious, important fossil findings. And I'm really glad that we're back to originating, and hopefully we'll be originating other things as well. We're not just putting things as we made them, but they were there. So in one way or the other, we've been saying that, of course, Ethiopia is the origin, and everybody is welcome to their hometown.
Great. Yeah, you mentioned it. Ethiopia is termed land of origins for reason.
Right.
No, not only for reason, but for reasons. You know, I remember years ago, there was, this Olympic opening session in Athens, Greek, and the commentator was saying, when he saw the Ethiopians marching in front of the people there, Ethiopia, land of great honors, he said, country of great honors, and not only great honors, but land of origins. And the being origin is not only witnessed by us, but witnessed by people from professionals from other institutions like Arizona University. So, as you said, it's about decades. These people have interacted with the Ethiopian Heritage Authority and the government of Ethiopia to deal with, looking in searching for who we are the origin of human beings, for the last many years, we can say, since the finding of the great Lucy. So,
by the way, Lucy is on a visit.
Really?
Yes. Lucy and Salam
yeah.
are visiting countries.
I see.
And now we found this as well.
I see.
Yes.
That is great. And as you mentioned, this thing belongs to the species of Australopithecus afarensis. And the genus name, the scientific name, is still Homo. They classified it inside the Homo. And, it's dated, I think they speculated it to be from their scientific measurement means. They speculated its age to be from 2.6 million and 2.8 million years old. Within that gap, within that interval. And there is also another finding that is related to the teeth, the premolar thing, which is expected to be dated for about 2.78 million years ago. So there are still discoveries, and recently, as you mentioned, the Lady Gararu research project is working with the University of Arizona in the Afar region to search and to look how the human beings were originated.
And really amazing thing that, and especially talking about this Australopithecus fossil dating back to 2.6 million to 2.8 million years, that is quite amazing. And why don't we just watch the lead, of course, the co-director of Lady Gararu Research Project and Director General of Ethiopian Heritage Authority, Addis Ababa, and we'll be back, of course, watching that. You're watching Addis Media Network, and this is our weekly review. We'll be back watching that.
Lady Gararu in the Afar region, it's in the northern Afar region. It's exciting with diversity and new discoveries. And what these add to that is the knowledge that there were in fact more species at the same time. So there was a species of Australopithecus that was not Lucy's species, and they are still alive and on the ground and moving around at 2.6 million years ago, when the earliest member of our genus, Homo, was also there. Now for Ethiopia, the phrase land of origins is exactly right. What we find is that the earliest member of Homo is here in Ethiopia. We see this diversity at an early time in Ethiopia. This overlap between Homo and Australopithecus, this is the first time anywhere in Eastern Africa that we see this. And so Ethiopia really is this, central place for paleoanthropological research.
Lady Gararu Research Project is one of the many projects Arizona State University is conducting with EHA since 2002 in the Afar region of Ethiopia. The discovery of a new species of Australopithecus and the oldest specimen of the genus Homo. Your research results are valuable both for you and for our country, not to mention the scientific community at large. Ethiopian government has given emphasis to research on heritage, including archaeology, paleontology, or whatever denominations in it. The Ethiopian Heritage Authority has established a research department and has made 2 annual conferences on paleontology and other related fields.
Then we're back, and the final issue will take us, of course, to global food system. I don't know what's going on. Mostly, you really love the issues of food systems. I don't know how good you are with the food thing, but most of the things I was checking.
I'm very good
issues.
at it.
I think you're really good at it. And everybody can survive without food. That's the truth. We all love food, and the good thing is that the world produces enough food, but it doesn't look like everybody's having enough. Most probably, it's how we are using the food we have already produced. According to a professor from the Swedish University of Agricultural Science, he believes, of course, that the planet Earth has already achieved tremendous success in especially mitigating food insecurity through what he termed it green revolution. And the professor added that what matters most is the fair distribution and access to what's being produced across the world. He believes that the world is producing enough, but the distribution is not fairly done. So it's not to blame that the world is not producing anything. Of course, the world will be producing. Earth will be producing enough. But the only difference and the only problem we are doing, of course, comes from human beings. So we have to fairly distribute what is already being produced. And we can easily see that some people are really throwing away the foods, mostly the leftovers. And I think we have to start from our houses.
Yeah.
And the way how we use even our food. For example, somebody may excessively use for breakfast, for lunch and dinner. It starts with that way, by the way, while others even don't have a meal a day in different parts of the globe.
Yeah.
So that really makes sense with the professor saying it.
Yeah. I think I considered myself lucky enough to talk to this agriculturalist. And as you said, he's a professor from the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences, who appears to be, in it for the last so many decades. He appears to be. He even told me that he has been working with Ethiopia for over 20 years. And even still today, he has, some Ethiopian students visiting the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences, and who even become people of senior positions in higher places. So, he preferred, to engage himself into the stocktake of global situation rather than focusing on a single country. He just reviewed it because it was particularly the United Nations Food Systems Summit plus for stocktake. He tried, to make the kind of inventory across the planet. Not only Europe, not in the North America, Africa or elsewhere. But in general, as you mentioned earlier, he told me that, the planet produces something surplus, something beyond the need. And whatever produced across the planet is more than the amount that the planet consumes. So what we should do is just checking and rechecking the way how we distribute, how we just make the food items and the things, arrive at the front doors of everybody, so that nobody goes to bed without having a dinner. And so the only thing we shall do is ask to him, making fair access, enabling people to access fairly, and the distribution mechanism shall be there in a fair way, and that will solve, in addition to the discussions of enhancing the production mechanisms. Still, these things are necessary. The discussions and the conventions and summits, all these things are necessary, yet we shall focus on producing more amount and modernizing the distribution mechanisms and the fairness when it comes to the access.
Nice. So let's see the researcher and instructor, Professor Constantius, and of course telling us about the world's food systems and how we're supposed to see it. And here's the professor.
I think we have great relations, and I personally have been working with Ethiopia many years now. More than 20 years ago I was here, so I'm collaborating with the university. I still have students who are now have been graduated and they have very high positions, so I'm very happy. And there are still students, Ethiopian students, coming to our university. We cannot fight the problem of food insecurity only with productionist discussion. We have, as a planet and as agricultural sector, we have had tremendous success in increasing production, especially through the Green Revolution. And actually, if you measure the production of food and measured in calories in the world, we have more than self-sufficiency. We produce more than we need in total. But there is a problem of distribution and access. And this is what our efforts should focus on, the distribution and access of food. This is an important event, of course, and as you know, our planet is lagging very much behind the SDG goals. So we have achieved little of what we were expecting to achieve. And 2030, which was the deadline for this attainment of the goals, is only 5 years from now. So we are really lagging behind. Of course, there are a lot of efforts in the United Nations, and the United Nations hub, the SDG hub, is doing tremendous efforts to coordinate these activities.
So dear viewers, we're back, and of course we are finalizing the issues with Asrat. I am Burhan Sadisa, and Asrat Adisu is here, and I really appreciate that what we've been discussing, especially in our stay. We discussed starting from bilateral ties, that is like that of outgoing German ambassador. We went, of course, discussing to AfDB, Ethiopia Cooperation, and related to it, we also saw the Ethiopian Airlines, biggest Africa, of course, we're planning to have it as Africa's biggest the airport itself. Yeah. And we also saw some guesses and talking about Addis, and finally we got the discovery of a new species and still found in Ethiopia.
The Australopithecus afarensis.
Yes, that's the fossil, aging to 2.6 to 2.8 million years. And I really appreciate that we discussed all this, and especially we also finally talked about the food and how we're supposed to fairly distribute those things. And Asrat, I really want to say thank you for that.
Thank you so much for having me once again here.
All right, I appreciate it. Dear viewers, you've been watching Addis Media Network's weekly review with me, Burhan Sadisa, and that does it for today. I'll have you back next week, and you take care.